Hey, Foot Clan, if you want to be an official part of this show, help support this free podcast, head over to jointhefoot.com. That's your access to all sorts of premium resources, flex rankings, and an extra show every single week. You'll love it. Go to jointhefoot.com.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from the Redraft Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Get out the way, Jay Grizz! Get out the way!
Daddy's back!
Oh, it is good to be back. I am excited. I am happy to be here. And you two gentlemen did an absolutely outstanding job, a bang-up job, all week long.
Thanks, Dad.
I listened to
always makes you feel good when your dad tells you did a good
job. I listened to every episode. I appreciate you giving me time with my family. We had a nice trip. We spent a day in 2 days in Disneyland. 1 day covered in ash.
Yeah,
in Disneyland, which was just unbelievable. And I while I was at Disneyland, I was actually naive to the fact that the fires were happening so close. I think there was a second fire in the Anaheim Hills as well. I think that's what we saw in Disneyland. And it looked like out here in Arizona we have what are called haboobs, big dust storms that blow in. We're just in Disneyland and the wind starts blowing and you look up and it's apocalyptic, right? Like the sun's blotted out and then all of a sudden ash starts falling for the rest of the day.
Awesome. Stay safe out there, California.
Yeah, absolutely tragic, some of the stories coming out of California. So thoughts and prayers with those families and those. I have my cousin, her brother lost his home in California. So just incredible, really snuck up on everybody there. I mean, there was just no warning. So, but yeah, I'm excited to be back. I appreciate you guys kicking butt. I'm surprised you let Jay Grizz get away with the level of profanity that I heard on the show.
You don't
He's
really
a giant bear.
Yeah, you don't tell him what to do.
He's going to do what he does.
Well.
Really nice call on Zach Miller by Jay Grizz.
Oh,
yes.
It was. Yeah.
Yes.
Delightful. We're going to get into so much on the show today. We have a great quick question. We're going to talk through the Aaron Rodgers situation. We got the studs and the duds on the show. We have our rising stars. Oh, it is good to be back and talking football. I'll tell you that. So you can follow us on Twitter at the FF Ballers. Happy to say, Jason, you took care of the over-under bet.
Yeah, you think? I could have almost doubled it.
Yeah, that was incredible. The Saints.
5 defensive or special teams touchdowns in that game.
This week,
I stand by my process.
Once again, I mean, this week just proves that the
you
NFL,
know nothing.
Unless you're the Browns, you can win any week. You're the Giants. You're going to Denver. You have 4 wide receivers out, and you handle the Broncos. You handle them. And
those games are always trap games.
Orleans Darkwa goes for 100+ on this vaunted run D in Denver. I mean, did you see the other non-Evan Ingram receivers? Did you see them try to catch?
I did.
Oh, man.
It reminds me of
me trying to catch?
I was say like our flag football leagues. The ball, it hits them before they realize it's there. It was incredible. And so you would think that the Broncos knew what was coming, which was to run the ball, but unbelievable game. So, all right, here's a quick question for today's show. All right, we have the Aaron Rodgers news. Broken collarbone. That was my starting quarterback in League of Record. Likely or possible he misses the rest of the season.
He's at least out for months.
He's out for probably the duration of the fantasy season for most owners. All right, so what do you do? This one came in off of Twitter, seen a ton of these. What do you do with the Packers receivers and running backs? What is your thought process when something like this happens? I mean, we are experiencing the lack of Andrew Luck in Indianapolis. What do we do with Jordy Nelson, Devontae Adams, and everybody else there?
Yeah, so we don't have any experience with Randall Cobb or Devontae Adams playing without Aaron Rodgers outside of the end of last game. Jordy has a few games 8 without him, and you've seen a split that makes sense. Average 18 points with Aaron Rodgers, 15 points without him, which is still pretty good. Jordy will remain the one. Devontae Adams is probably the guy that scares me the most because he's always been touchdown reliant. and I can bank on Aaron Rodgers for getting up near 40 touchdowns, I'm not going to feel confident that the touchdowns are going to flow as much. So I want more of the possession type, the Randall Cobb, the Jordy Nelson, but expectations have to go down for everyone. The one thing that I'm not as concerned about is the running back situation. Now, the situation itself is a little concerning because now it looks like more of a timeshare, but I think that the team is going to have to rely on those running back weapons a little bit more, and they're both capable.
Yeah, the only caveat there seems to be the defense and whether or not that defense can hold up against any of these offenses, because then you press your backup, whether it's Hundley, whether it's someone else that comes onto this roster, which I think is very possible with the roster that they have, that they might bring in Tony Romo.
Oh, no way.
Oh, man, that would be fun.
That would be a huge loss for us all. Tony Romo's killing the
Did you
announcing
see
booth.
they asked him, but this was before anything happened with Aaron Rodgers, and they were talking about his final touchdown pass.
Oh, yeah, he was
and
joking.
he said, are you sure? Are you sure it's my final touchdown? But regardless, if you're pressed into a situation where they have to pass, that's the concern here. Where yesterday, right? I mean, they were down throughout the game. They lost the game to the Vikings, and they couldn't make plays in the passing game.
Many interceptions by Hundley.
To me, it's kind of a tier down per player is the way I look
Pretty
at
much.
that. You know, Jordy goes from being a high-end 1 to maybe a high-end 2 to me, and then Adams goes from maybe a high-end 2 to, 2-3 cusp player.
Yeah, I
And then
can agree with that.
Rob Cobb is becomes probably unstartable.
Well, who knows? I mean, Jason's right. I mean, maybe the rapport is there with Cobb, and he's just going to take those short and intermediate throws. That's what he'll latch onto. It's at this point, it's really hard to say, except for it's a downgrade.
Are you willing to trade them? Are you downgrading them enough to where you say, hey, if I can get value for Randall Cobb and switch him?
You're not. You're getting 50 cents
Yeah,
on the dollar right now for any of those guys.
It's unfortunately the wrong time to do it because
Right.
nobody's going to receive an offer with Jordy Nelson in it and not know why you're making it now.
Do you think you could transfer like a Devontae Adams type into a Jarvis Landry?
Yeah, that you might be able to pull off because Adams did score. I mean, he scored with Hundley, so maybe this is the time. Yeah, that might be the thing to do.
All right.
Let's get into the rewind.
Weekly Rewind.
Well, if you look at the bottom of the quarterback rankings, you see some names there, like Aaron Rodgers, who obviously had like about a point with the injury. Jameis Winston.
They should just prorate. Take his score and prorate it for the whole game.
I was so tilting because I made the joke. I was like, how selfish of Aaron Rodgers not to break your collarbone in the fourth quarter of the matchup. How dare you? But that's fantasy football. I mean, you can't – there are moves you make, and you look back at the week, and you go, oh, man, I was so dumb to start this player or that player. And then there are things that happen where you've got to put your hands in there and just say, hey, I lost Aaron Rodgers. He broke his collarbone. That's
not my week.
And you move on. And you know what? The truth is when you lose Aaron Rodgers, it's a lot – people won't want to hear it, but it is a lot easier to replace Aaron Rodgers than it is to replace a David Johnson or a running back or a wide receiver of a high caliber because you're able to stream the position off of waivers and get a guy with a top 6 performance weekly, patching it together. He is much easier to replace. That being said, I think the people, the Foot Clan, need to know about something that has happened behind the scenes. We know that David Johnson was on Andy's team, the Fantasy Reaper, and he went down. Well,
Stop it.
Andy acquired
Shut your mouth.
Aaron Rodgers.
The people have a right to know, Andy.
And Aaron Rodgers went down. But Andy has said, I'm not going away. And he made big moves this week for Carson Wentz and LaShawn McCoy. So we put it out there. This is Madden Cover Talk.
You're the new Madden cover.
Yes, you are. Oh, man. Hey, look.
I wanted to defend myself, but I feel like I will proliferate the curse. Like I wanted to start naming players that have not been hurt from my team.
Yeah, but
I
then
feel
they're
like
all
if I
going
bring
down.
them up, it's trouble. Yes, I've acquired Carson Wentz as my Aaron Rodgers replacement in a keeper league. I had to, I'm 4-2. I'm competing. I need to go get another guy. The irony is because of this game from Rodgers and the game that Wentz had, Wentz will actually have a higher ranking on the year than Rodgers will. Before
you upgraded.
No, I didn't. All right, Jameis Winston is another player. You got to throw your hands up, right? Forced from Sunday's game against the Cardinals with an injury to the throwing shoulder early in that game. What's the latest on Jameis?
We don't have a full update, but he was seen on the sideline throwing the ball, and it looked like it was possible for him to go back in, but I mean that game was just
it was 31-0.
It got out of hand very quickly to the point of sure we'll try and come back with Fitzpatrick, but don't risk the franchise quarterback. Seemingly, he should play next week. So that's the positive news on Winston when you're not looking at a multi-week absence.
Trevor Siemian left briefly in the Week 6 matchup against the Giants. I don't know what percentage of quarterbacks are injured on plays trying to tackle a defensive back that is running down the sideline, but it seems like it's a 50-50 shot you're going to be hurt.
That's why you see guys like Peyton, and they just go,
nope.
Right this way, my good sir. Enjoy your touchdown. Because I'm going to stay healthy.
Siemian tried to make the tackle, got his hurt his shoulder. Saw that with Cutler, right? A couple years ago, got injured in the same way.
Andy Dalton broke his thumb during his that MVP run.
Trevor Siemian's status?
He hurt his shoulder.
Came back in.
Yes, he came back in the game. He's going to have an MRI today. We do know, though, that you need Trevor Siemian to be out there because we saw a little bit of Brock Osweiler coming in.
Get the tight ends ready for Broncos.
He was not good.
Well, you also need wide receivers. Emmanuel Sanders, Demaryius Thomas.
The Giants, Andy's the new man cover. This is facts. This is factual information. We know this. I feel like the Giants went like the ring on the Broncos. They said, "Hey, watch this videotape and get a phone call that says your wide receivers are gone."
Because Emmanuel Sanders carted off with a right ankle injury in Week 6.
It looked pretty bad. The hit itself, the way that I
think he's going to miss some significant time.
I agree. X-rays came back negative. MRI again today.
Demaryius Thomas, X-ray on the lower leg. That came back negative as well?
But yeah, he came back in the game and was still making plays, but he was
hobbled.
He was hobbled.
I was reading the update on Leonard Fournette, who went down late in the loss, and I was very encouraged by it. First, it was not the foot. It was the ankle, okay? And the foot was what was concerning people about Leonard Fournette, who has been an absolute monster at the NFL level. He says he twisted his ankle. Doug Marrone said he could have came back in the game. He thinks he can play Week 7. Do we have any underlying concerns?
There's, I think a little concern just because he also injured his ankles in college. But I agree with you, Andy. The foot was the far more concerning thing coming into the year. I think if you're a Leonard Fournette owner, you need to pick up Chris Ivory. He looks like a serviceable backup that could come in for a week and play well.
I agree with you. Ivory was at least getting the snaps. I mean, he was getting snaps.
Ivory's everything he got. Every play, Chris Ivory is just smashing. That's why he can't be a 16-week starter, but he's a
quality running back.
He's a good running back.
Tyreek Hill, we saw him get absolutely
blasted,
shellacked.
No concussion though.
Yeah, Mike Florio says no concussion for Tyreek Hill in the Steelers matchup, and then Char West left with a possible concussion. We'd have to, monitor him. Char West was getting a very strange amount of reps. If you look at what Kareem Hunt has done, first 3 weeks, I believe he had 6 touchdowns. Since then, he has 0. So in the next 3 weeks, no touchdowns. Char West had a couple last week in his
Char West took his touchdowns 2 weeks ago. Hunt is still dominating in terms of yardage. That's why touchdowns they're a little bit random, a little bit fluky. It's hard to necessarily predict I'm going to score this week.
Well, I want to get into the stud muffins, but there's one more piece of news I think is worth discussing, figuring out, and that's Martavis Bryant. Because reports came out yesterday, the team, Martavis, people know he's unhappy. He recently requested a trade. He only played 51% of snaps. They talked about him needing a break last week. You guys talked about it on the show. Now, we've already said Juju Smith-Schuster, he's got an increased role. Rodgers is coming back. The offense hasn't been great, but what do you make of the situation, and do you upgrade a flyer pick on a guy like Schuster if you think Martavis could actually be out the door.
If Martavis could be out the door, which Martavis himself did tweet last night trying to debunk the rumors of asking for a trade. Who knows? Because, I mean, we're dealing with this. We just had last week that Carlos Hyde was going to be traded and shopped, and then Kyle Shanahan, head coach of the 49ers, said, no, there's no truth to that. So who really knows? However, let's just live in the world where Martavis gets traded. That's a huge, huge upgrade for Juju. I mean,
okay. I thought for a second you were saying for Martavis.
Oh, no.
I was like, we were going to agree to disagree.
Yeah, no,
yes, I agree
Martavis'
for
skill
Juju.
set fits that team perfectly. There's some spots where Martavis could have some success, but even with Martavis is still there. I mean, you're talking just looks, targets, plays that will now shift over to the rookie, who's Smith-Schuster He's looked very fine. He's looked very good. He'll improve over time. So it would be a big deal for Juju if Martavis were to get traded.
Okay. You guys want to get into the Stud Muffins?
Yeah.
Yep.
This week's Fantasy Stud Muffins.
The one piece of news we should throw out, CJ Beathard has been named the starter rest of season by Kyle Shanahan.
He said rest of season?
He said rest of season by the 49ers.
Wow.
Pick him up.
It makes no sense for a team that's got a 1-year deal with Hoyer that is building for the future not to play.
Because you want to see if you've got something in Beathard, or if you need to pick up the #1 stud muffin of the week, my start of the week, Kirk Cousins.
Oh,
next year.
It's great that I love that you started him because, like you said on the show last week, this is an offense that takes a little time to get going, and it seems to have gotten going in this game. Do you downgrade Pierre Garçon with the Beathard news?
Certainly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we don't have enough film of Beathard versus an actual NFL defense to know. Garçon will still get his targets and be a PPR type of guy, but off of the initial reaction, you have to downgrade him.
Baltimore D next week, I believe, plays San Francisco.
Oh my goodness!
Isn't that correct?
Oh, let me
I'm
have a look.
Pretty certain. You look for the. Here's what you do with your defensive streams. You start surveying the land, and you look for names, and you look for C.J. Beathard.
That is not correct. They play Minnesota.
Who plays San Francisco next week? Minnesota, you said?
No, Minnesota plays the Ravens. Next week.
Figure out who San Fran plays. Because you start targeting the Chris Hogans and the Beathards and the inexperienced quarterbacks. If Fitzpatrick were to start again.
Dallas.
Okay.
Dallas Cowboys.
You can probably stream that, D.
The Cowboys?
Yeah.
They're a bad D, and I'd stream them.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. All right. Kirk Cousins took care of business. 25 of 37 for 330 and 2. Deshaun Watson, once again, a touchdown master, 17 for 29 for 225 and 3. Watson.
He's breaking all sorts of NFL rookie touchdown passing records. Look, he's good.
You got to stay in the flames with him, don't you?
You have to stay in the flames with him. It's going to be very difficult to start him this week, though. He is on bye.
Oh, I wouldn't recommend it.
Every fantasy owner that has Deshaun Watson most likely has, many of them will have another quarterback that they've rostered, that they've played, that they've had to balance. I've got our team in Listener League with Breeze and with Watson. Now, last week I tried to trade Watson off his 40-something week to go get another position player. Do you recommend that for those players to still go out and try to shop Watson, or do you just kind of
I do. I mean, I have no problem trading Drew Brees, who we know has a long life of. I mean, it's always going to depend on your roster, but if you can take a good quarterback and convert them into that same kind of a tier of running back or wide receiver, I'm always going to do it. Always.
Would you rather have Watson or Wentz rest of season?
It's a great question. I think I would rather have Wentz, but it's close. I mean,
I think Watson.
Okay. How much do you start looking at playoff schedules for quarterbacks with these decisions now that we're entering Week 7?
I'll take a little
going through your mind at all.
I'll take a little peek, but I'm not going to freak out about the matchups yet. I mean, you got like Deshaun Watson, for instance. Oh, thank you. Watson will be 49ers at Jacksonville, home against Pittsburgh. So on paper right now, that's not good. I mean, that's terrifying. Jacksonville and Pittsburgh are two of the best, I would say two of the top 3 pass defenses in the league right now. So that's
kind of where I'm at
worrisome.
with when you look at like Breeze. Breeze plays Atlanta twice in the fantasy playoffs, I think, with another soft matchup in between. If I was staring those two guys down on my roster, that would make a little bit of a decision because nobody's going to necessarily – your opponent's not going to look at it necessarily.
The fact that it's Drew Brees, that's an easy trade if you're saying, well, I'll move Watson for Brees because we have such a body of work for Drew Brees. That's why when you're saying Carson Wentz
right.
or Deshaun Watson, we're looking at these guys level up at the exact same time.
True.
So it's difficult to choose between the two.
Now, Jason.
Yo.
I know how much you want to talk about Josh McCown and Ryan Fitzpatrick. Before I let you do that, try to just hold yourself back. Oh, I enjoyed your but Vegas, by the way. but Vegas? All right, before we get into the rest of the Stud Muffins, I do want to take a second and thank the sponsor of today's show, ZipRecruiter. You've heard us talk about them before. Look, if you're hiring, the question is this. Do you know where to post your job and find the best candidates, or do you want to spin your wheels every place on earth finding terrible candidates? If hiring could be easier, well, it can be. ZipRecruiter makes it easier. It's streamlined. It's not time-consuming, and they connect you with the absolute best candidates. You post your job to over 100 of the world's leading job boards with one click instead of doing it separately. They put their smart matching technology to work. They notify qualified candidates about your job within minutes of posting, and you get the best results when you go with ZipRecruiter. That's why 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. ZipRecruiter is the smartest way to hire, and you can find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by businesses of all sizes and industries to find the most qualified job candidates with immediate results. Right now, our listeners can post jobs for free on ZipRecruiter. That's right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/footballers. That's ZipRecruiter.com/footballers. One more time to try it for free. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/footballers.
We want to thank MeUndies for sponsoring the show. MeUndies makes feel-good undies your butt will be proud to wear. They will be the most comfortable pair of underwear you will ever own. Check it out for yourself at MeUndies.com/footballers. There's tons of styles. There's for every personality. We're done.
They make a fantasy loss a teeny bit more comfortable.
Actually, a lot bit more comfortable while you're sitting, enduring your sadness. Yeah. Your butt is comfortable. And it's time to get away from just plain white briefs. And that's why you got to check out MeUndies. And they use naturally soft fabric that is 3 times softer than cotton. For a limited time, they made their first ever glow-in-the-dark print. I mean, you got to shine.
This is softer than Paul Perkins.
Oh, soft, absolutely softer than Paul Perkins. We have all experienced, personally, the upgrade that is MeUndies, and you can get 20% off the best and softest underwear and socks you will ever own. There's free shipping and 100% satisfaction guarantee. Go to MeUndies.com/footballers. That is MeUndies.com/footballers.
There you go. There you go. All right. See, Smash Jackson, that's not soft, but the Paul Perkins, that's soft.
Yeah.
All right, Josh McCown, Ryan Fitzpatrick had the days that no one expected. Well, McCown we did.
Yeah,
McCown we talked about as a possible stream.
Absolutely.
31 for 47 for 354 and 2. Should have been 3.
Look, the bounce back oh my goodness, it was 3. That's
your start of the week. ASJ did well enough regardless, but should have had 2 touchdowns.
Should have had a monster week.
Yeah, that touchdown overcalled is that is upsetting to say the least. But I just want to throw this out there because we're all, I think, expecting New England to right the ship on defense. It ain't happening. I mean, watching that game, you watch the film, and they are a mess. There's a play where, Josh McCown is rolling out at 38 years old, easily evading the pass rush.
His arm's at least 40.
Standing there forever, and then throwing the ball in this big lob, lofty.
Across his body.
Across the field to a guy that, after all that, was open by like 15 yards. Where is the defense? So until they right it, until I'm not going to expect the ship to be fixed until after they have fixed it.
Yeah, no, I think that's very fair. You start.
You get what your face
I'm
said.
following you.
All right.
I'm following.
Start your players against Patriots.
Yeah, you don't trust the crew to repair the holes, and you need to see it to believe it.
Well,
right now, the water is seeping in.
You got to get that ship to land. I mean, you can only patch so much when you're in the middle of the ocean in the storms.
Yeah, it's halfway down.
You got to hit that bye week.
Okay, that's you're probably right on that. That's land. All right. I'd love to go boat.
And Carson Palmer
for the next 10 minutes, though.
Carson Palmer had an awesome game as well.
Yes, and for Palmer, do you guys expect good things moving forward for Palmer? He gets to take on the Rams, then it's the bye week, and then San Francisco.
Yes.
But Adrian Peterson, the proof was the Larry Fitzgerald touchdown. And I know this was highlighted also by the Sports Network on the replays because it's worth taking a look at.
Not everybody's seen the game.
Sure. So Adrian Peterson, it's a play action. I think they're inside the 10 or so. The entire defense moves up to stop Adrian Peterson, giving Larry a wide open touchdown. So I had a lot of people asking, what do you do with Carson Palmer? Because it's a great game. Have things changed that much with Adrian Peterson on the team?
It's
now?
not just Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson, yes, but they also got their offensive line back. They were down 3 offensive linemen, and you just can't have 3 replacement-level offensive linemen come in and protect you. Now, Mike Upati, he's done for a season. But the other 2, the left tackle and the left or right guard, depending on which week it is back. And that made a big difference that made a big difference for the running game for Adrian Peterson and the fact that the running game was working and they could protect Palmer. He looked great. So I think Palmer is a guy that if you picked up to stream, definitely hold on to. Ride it out.
John Brown, healthy.
He's getting
showed
there.
up healthy for the first time, scored in this game. Circling back briefly to the Patriots situation, let's make sure we come back and talk about the implications of that defense on Mike Gillislee when we get to a different segment of the show where Gillislee firmly belongs. Yeah. Running backs that do not belong in that segment, Melvin Gordon.
I love him. I say it every opportunity I get. I mean, I think he
Give me a kiss.
I think he's really, really good. And
all
the people that are against the efficiency numbers of Melvin Gordon, I get it. I love analytics. I'm in them. I look at some of those things. But when I watch the game, I realize this guy's doing what he needs to on every single play that he can do, and he is one of those guys. There's always been, I remember Joseph Adai. When you get around a goal line, there are those guys that say, give me the ball, and I will get in. And that's Melvin Gordon, which is ironic since he didn't score a touchdown in his rookie year.
Yeah, well, he had 2 yesterday, 25 for 83 and a touchdown, 9 for 67, and 1 through the air, 12 targets.
I mean, when you're getting
that's what it's always been.
25 carries and 12 targets.
Coming into this year, it was like the volume. The volume is there. The player's good enough. And, Jason, you're right. Mark Ingram.
My guy.
Yeah.
Apparently getting
freed.
4 snaps back from Adrian Peterson unleashes the confidence of Mark Ingram. 25 for 114 and 2, 5 for 36 through the air on 5 targets, had a fumble. But, Adrian Peterson wasn't there to put in as punishment for Mark Ingram. They did bring in Kyrie Robinson as a depth running back. So he's not signed, but he's there for a workout as a player that's been with the Saints before. Makes perfect sense as a depth play, but I'm not worried about him. Lev Bell, the monster game.
So good.
32
carries.
Yeah, just 32. Adrian Peterson, 48 snaps, more than his entire season. 26 for 134 and 2. Also had a 41-yard run called back on a holding just for fun. But this was the Cardinals flew out the running backs coach the day they signed him and got him working on the playbook. I was surprised to see this level of workload, but the game flow really, really
a lot of people are wondering
the right direction.
Is this a mirage? If you didn't get to see the game, was it Adrian Peterson? Was it busted plays? What what was it? And I can say, as the person who was throwing shade on Adrian Peterson, that he looked great. I mean, it was Adrian Peterson doing his thing. I believe that he'll be good. Now, I'm still willing to trade him because, holy moly, you might be able to trade him for a haul. He's a Hall of Famer who now has proven that he's going to get over 25 carries a game and score a touchdown every game. And, there's those
That's the
those
argument
guys,
you make.
Exactly. There's those guys in your league that they are so enamored with recency bias that they are going to think Adrian Peterson is a top 5 running back rest of the season. Find those guys.
He's not a top 5 running back rest of the season.
No, he's not a top 12 running back.
He will not be on third down. I think he has the potential to be a very good running back.
This was a game where
I put him back in one potential.
The Arizona Cardinals were up 31-0 in the blink of an eye in this game. You can't ask for a better situation than that for your running back ever. And if the Arizona Cardinals are down in a game, you're going to see a different script for Adrian Peterson.
Certainly. But you do know that he's the goal line back.
Yep.
I mean,
absolutely.
So it's that on an offense that
is good.
Over the past few weeks, they look like they're finding themselves.
I love it.
I think that I would call him a top 15 running back.
Yeah, Rams, bye week, and then San Francisco. It could be pretty good for Adrian Peterson in the next couple of active games.
He's fresh. Remember that too.
That is true.
Those are fresh legs.
He was taking oxygen.
Yeah, the
10
lungs
minutes after being on the bench.
lungs aren't
The
quite
lungs
so
are not
fresh,
ready.
but the legs are strong.
Jerick McKinnon, Carlos Hyde, Leonard Fournette had monster games. You also had an impressive performance by Jordan Howard, 36 carries. 36 carries by Jordan Howard, proving that regardless of his quarterback situation, they're just going to keep handing him the rock.
In another almost upset victory for you, Andy, the Bears getting it done. On the back of Howard.
Yeah,
we threw that in there.
You got it in there
Yeah,
on Friday.
we did. The guy I wanted to talk about are this list. Orleans Darkwa.
Yes.
This is a couple games now where he looks different.
That's why I said I didn't love Gallman, was because of Darkwa. Darkwa to me looks like the much, much better running back. They're going to need to do it, and I mean, you have to pick him up. We'll talk about him tomorrow.
He's going to be a huge waiver guy. The only caution I'm going to throw out there is that from what I've seen, I watched Darkwa last night. I've watched him in his career when he's had opportunities. He looks like the same guy to me. I think he's always been a pretty okay back, but his problem has been consistent injury troubles.
Yes.
And this was a hot hand. This was a good game script. We just talked about it with Peterson with the game script. So I would just caution you. It doesn't mean you don't go spend on him, but I think if Gallman starts off hot one game, you might see very reduced carries for Darkwa. I don't think he's earned like this bona fide #1 role in this team, this offensive line, the threat that they have. I think you just need to be careful with your expectations. But very impressive game. You cannot take that away from him. And we're going to talk about McKinnon very shortly. So let's talk about some wide receiver studs, guys. Who stood out to you the very most? Who's the most actionable kind of player that had a monster week? I mean, Larry Fitzgerald, 10 for 138 and a touchdown on 11 targets.
Yeah, I'm not going to overreact to Larry's numbers. I think that he will remain a solid play throughout the rest of the season, but Larry at home, I mean, he was clearly the whole entire team was energized by bringing in Adrian Peterson. Just the hope at home, got to take advantage of a defense that was missing some key players. So he still remains a wide receiver too, but he has that upside every single week. What do you do with Marvin Jones? Finally showed up. Marvin Jones finally had a good week, 6 for 96 with a touchdown. His touchdown catch was absolutely insane.
I would say completely anomalous.
Okay.
Due to the incredible, deficit that this
the wackiness of that
faced.
game.
I mean, look,
New Orleans gives up the big play. That's why we said to play Marvin Jones last week, because he's a big play receiver. Now the only question is if Golden Tate's injury becomes serious. He exited the game. He was having a great game. Then Marvin Jones might become someone that you're able to start.
Things
not
could
just
get,
against the big play.
They could get a lot smoother in Detroit next week.
They could get real smooth.
Oh, so smooth. I heard the smooth routes Kenny G almost suited up.
Come on back now. You know what? We really need him back. I mean, this drop takes up space on my board, and we need him back in the fold.
We do.
The guy that stood out to me was Demaryius Thomas. He was targeted early. He was targeted in the middle of the game. He was targeted late. It didn't matter. I'm just saying that so far
he was targeted up high.
We haven't
targeted down low.
We haven't seen Siemian really focus in. And now if Emmanuel Sanders' ankle is, going to keep him out for a couple weeks, which I assume it is just based on watching the play, Demaryius Thomas, I realize he himself is a little bit hobbled, but he plays through these things. I think he's got 16 games in a row for like 5 years running, which is rare at the wide receiver position. So he stood out to me in a big way.
Any chance that if this injury's serious, do you look at Jake Butt down the line here? He's gonna start practicing.
Yeah, it would be AJ Derby.
Really?
Derby is he gets the most snaps. He is the pass catching tight end.
Here's the problem with AJ Derby. Jake Butt, Hireman.
But
there's like 5
Virgil
tight ends
Green.
there. Virgil Green.
Yes, there are. But I'm telling you, I've seen the snaps. They are vastly in favor of AJ Derby.
His biggest problem is he tries to make all his catches with one hand.
Yeah, I saw that.
Did you see that last night?
Because he can.
Hey, number one wide
last
receiver, Michael Crabtree, 6 for 52 and a touchdown. You can put down 6 in the reception column of every game that he ever plays for the remainder of his career.
And you can put in a touchdown on about every other one.
Will Fuller, guys, you talked about him on the show this week. What in the world do you do if he just keeps doing it? I mean, is he
stay in the flames? This is 3
2
in a row.
for 62 and a touchdown, 3 straight weeks with a score.
He hasn't had more than 3 receptions,
but that's
he
not his
scores
game.
A touchdown. What is his touchdown rate? Like, is it like 40%?
Yeah, 40 or 50%.
That would be 5. What was his reception count?
Yeah,
3 in each of the past 2 weeks.
So he's got
5 out of 8 receptions.
He had 4. He had 4 receptions the first week. He came back with 2 touchdowns, 2 for 2 the following week, and 2 and 1. So
okay, so that's 5 touchdowns on 8. Yeah, that's 8.
5 touchdowns on 8 receptions.
Yeah.
So I gave him 40% instead of 62% touchdown rate.
That's egregious, Jason. Give the man his respect.
Yeah. I guess you gotta if you've got a team where he's on the roster and you don't like your options, throw him in, because you're always, whenever you're in those situations, whenever you're in a situation where you're like, who do I go? These matchups aren't that great. Do I go this guy or that guy? I'm not in love. Really, in those situations, what I usually ask myself is, which one has a better chance at a touchdown? Because that's going to be, okay, maybe both these guys come out and they stink. But if one of them comes out and has a great game, it's usually on the back of a touchdown. Well, clearly, Will Fuller and Deshaun Watson have a touchdown connection. I mean, you've seen.
If you gave him 110 receptions, his pace is 68.75 touchdowns.
If these trends continue.
So if you that actually, I know that's a joke, but that actually gives you some perspective on his touchdown efficiency right now. He's on a 68 touchdown pace if he had 110 receptions.
It's not sustainable.
But it is fun to have.
It is on fire.
Can you douse the flames of the Human Torch, Jason?
No, I don't think you can.
He's got a bye week, so that'll do it.
Yeah.
He's probably not scoring this week. And then he has to go to Seattle. I actually do not, with all the other options on the waiver wire tomorrow, I will not be spending my fab on Will Fuller.
Trade Will Fuller then, because when you get a touchdown 3 games in a row for a team that looks great, and then you're probably not going to start him the next 2 weeks, might as well trade him.
That's what I did.
Something for him.
That's what you did last year with Will Fuller. Started out on fire.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, if you traded him.
Everyone was the opposite, though, because last year when it started out, he was getting double-digit targets.
Yeah. All right, other receivers worth talking about. I mean, Ted Ginn had a touchdown. I'm not reading much into that.
It was a while ago, but Kelvin Benjamin, I still thought looked good, and he was the clear number 1 target.
13 targets. Tight ends. Let's talk about some tight ends. I mean, Cameron Brate does it again.
Brate is great.
He's great. Brate is great. 6 for 76 and a touchdown. Evan Ingram, 5 for 82 and a touchdown. We got him on the wall this morning because he's doing work for Mike's dynasty team. So Mike wanted to come in here and frame him up.
And your league of record team.
And my league of record team. Austin Seferian-Jenkins.
Oh, man. So he is the number 1 target for the New York Jets.
Oh, I thought something like, is he still available on the waiver wire? This is impossible.
Let me ask you this. rest of season, with the landscape of tight ends, which you guys touched on a ton last week, where are Ingram, Brait, and Jenkins? Like, if you had to handicap what their position will be rest of season, you've got Gronk at the top. He was 6 for 83 and 2. He's the done deal. But with Reed hurt, no Eifert.
I think I'm going like 8,
Kelsey.
9, 10. And I
Really?
think I would order those Brait, ASJ, Ingram.
8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Maybe
I would
7,
have
8,
them,
9. I
I'd
mean,
have
I'd have
them
to
a lot
look.
higher.
I'd have to count on my fingers who would
Well,
be ahead. But
you've
I would
got
put
Kelsey ahead.
I would still have Delaney Walker ahead,
Okay.
Kelsey ahead, Gronk, Ertz.
Sure.
Jimmy Graham, I would
You would
probably
still
still
keep
put
him.
ahead. So
You put Graham ahead?
I would.
See,
No
I think
way.
Evan Ingram has top 5 potential rest of the season with the fact that they lost 4
He's
receivers.
It. Yeah, I think that plays into it huge. I still would have Brait ahead of him, but
Okay.
I'd go Brait, Ingram.
I got to give you a
Jenkins.
lot of credit, Mike. You talked Brait up through the O.J. Howard pick. Just, and Jason, you've talked about the blocking of O.J. Howard. Now Brait gets to focus on being this center of the field target, good hands, red zone monster. Very impressive.
The scheme loves him.
Monster defensive weeks from the Saints, Texans, Rams, and Ravens. Specifically, the Texans destroyed Kevin Hogan. The Saints, they got it done. 3 defensive touchdowns. And we talked about the Ravens. They have they took care of the Chicago Bears and Trubisky. Those are matchups you're looking at next week. You look at Cleveland, you look at Chicago.
You're always going to look at Cleveland. That's part of why I had picked up Tennessee this week at home against Indianapolis, is because next week they play the Cleveland Browns, which is always a good play.
All right, moving on.
Raising Cane's Rising Stars of the Week.
All right, it's time for our rising stars. I alluded to it earlier. I'm going with Dalvin Cook Jr., also known as Jerick McKinnon.
Also known as a man that deserves an apology
From
me.
Yeah,
Because,
go.
look, I
The
think,
biggest man in the room right now,
I think-
Jason Moore.
I think Jerick McKinnon.
Biggest
has-
dummy in the room.
Sure, that's fine. I usually am, but Jerick McKinnon, I have thrown a lot of shade on you.
Yeah, you have.
I have never believed. Your Spark scores are great. You're an athletic freak, but you're not a good football player. Except
you are.
maybe you are, because you've looked great. You've won me over. He would have been my rising star, if not yours. Sorry to hijack.
No,
Continue,
that's
Andy.
fine. I made the calculated decision a few weeks back to not pay $1 for Latavius Murray and to buy Jerick McKinnon for the free price because the
I
fatigue.
think everyone who got McKinnon got him
it's
basically free.
It's the McKinnon fatigue that Jason suffered from. That's he needed some medicine to get over it because look, we have seen the excitement before, but this is a better offense. This is a much better offensive line, and I want the player that fills the Cook role, which is I'm going to catch the ball. I'm also going to run the ball. His efficiency versus Latavius Murray, I believe through 2 games, 5.1 a carry for McKinnon, 2.2 a carry for Latavius Murray. Got it done on the goal line. Got it done in the passing game. Got it done for 2 weeks in a row. Jerick McKinnon.
He had to clean up Murray's goal line mess.
He did. And I want to say this. McKinnon now is a candidate as a league winner. I mean, he's the guy that if he's out there on waivers by some – he's
There's
not.
no way.
He's not.
There's no way.
But I think he has the potential to be an RB2 rest of the season.
I would agree. I would agree.
He's my rising star.
Go
All
ahead,
right.
Jay.
I'm going with another guy that I was
You owe an apology to.
I don't owe a huge apology because I've liked him before, but I was a little worried. I was a little worried this week.
Yeah.
Because if he was the only target in town, maybe the Denver Broncos would actually show up to play a game of football. But Evan Ingram, we've talked about him all day. He's my rising star because it's clear that he is going to be so involved. And I think it's also clear that the truth is I don't think defenses are always going to be able to stop him. Now, certain personnel will be able to match up easier. We know that the Denver Broncos defense, while great, has usually been able to be beat with the tight end, and we saw why last night. And Evan Ingram, he's going to be too involved, and he is too talented to go back to the waivers, so he is my rising star of the week.
I want to – when you look at tight ends that are athletically gifted, Rob Gronkowski – in the past, I mean, you see these guys, he's super fast. If you line him up in the slot, Who's playing on him? Are you moving a linebacker out? No. If you move a DB, they're too small. This is the mismatch that certain athletically gifted tight ends give you. And one of the reasons that I like him more than Austin Seferian-Jenkins for rest of season is because of the yardage and big play ability. If you get him the ball on a little crossing route, he can turn the corner, where Austin Seferian-Jenkins is like 5.5 per catch. You're getting 6, 7 catches, you're getting 40-something yards. With Ingram, I like the big play potential because he gives you kind of what Jordan Reed could do in an offense, what you see sometimes with Zach Ertz. That's why I like Ingram more than ASJ, but I think both are very good options. And look, the Giants surprised everybody last night with that win, no doubt about it.
Yeah, they did. My rising star of the week is someone he has risen many, many times, like the Phoenix.
He's like a
and now he's in Phoenix.
And now he is in Phoenix. Adrian Peterson, you have to give the man his due off of this week. Oh man, I mean, when Adrian Peterson, he eats hate. He eats doubt.
He consumes it.
It fuels his
that is
body.
his fuel.
I mean, and there was no larger, even coming off of his the knee injury, coming off of that, it was nothing compared to the disrespect that he has felt from Sean Payton, who wouldn't use him in the offense, and the entire the public perception that Adrian Peterson was done. It has fueled him. So I mean, he has expended so much that once again he had to get oxygen very, very frequently on the sideline.
Interesting question. Do you think it's possible that the Saints regret their trade in any way, shape, or form? I understand he's not a fit for their system, right? But their system has to, win them games and has to be successful as well. You saw what he has left in the tank.
I don't think so at all. In fact, I think the fact
no.
that it's a conditional pick means that they want him to succeed with Arizona because it'll be a better pick.
I guess it was just, at the end of the day, I guess it was just dumb to bring him in at all.
Yes,
because if you're not going to give him what he needs to succeed, you just made a dumb decision.
Well, that was
to sign him.
I feel like that was a general manager not consulting with a coach. It's like, I like
possible.
this guy, I'm going to sign him, and then it just doesn't fit.
Rest
the
of season. I'm going to put you on the spot, Mike, with this Adrian Peterson love. Chris Thompson, Adrian Peterson, rest of season.
I would take Peterson.
Carlos Hyde, Adrian Peterson, rest of season.
I would take Carlos Hyde.
Jason's like,
I'm in agreement.
We're 2 for 2.
We're 2 for 2 in agreement.
Ty Montgomery or Adrian Peterson, rest of season.
Oof. I'm gonna go Montgomery. Just the ribs freak me out, but the scheme is going to have to. It has
He's
to
gonna
benefit
catch a lot of
Montgomery.
balls.
Exactly. His
Adrian Peterson or Amir Abdullah, rest of season.
That's pretty close. I'm gonna go Peterson for the touchdown.
As would I.
That's we were in.
We're in sync here.
The whole thing.
You guys
Completely
became best
in sync.
friends last week.
Did we just become best friends?
I loved the feedback. People loved the show. I likened it to the situation where, like, I let my kids eat cake for an entire week. It tastes delicious. Eventually, you were going to probably throw up and get sick, but
it was a good week.
It was a good week of cake, guys. Look, those were the Raising Cane's Rising Stars of the Week. Don't forget the game day tastes better. By the way, it tasted better for us yesterday.
You're darn right it did.
With Raising Cane's tailgates full of fresh, 24-hour marinated hand-battered chicken fingers and fresh brewed sweet tea. Visit RaisingCanes.com. Find your nearest location.
Get the sauce.
I have to let the Foot Clan know
the
about
sauce.
something. Before we talk pooped in their big boy pants, I need to let people know about what's happening tonight. Welcome to Fantasy Football and the fun of Fantasy Football.
Yes.
In our League of Record, Jason and Mike are taking one another on this week. And
Mono.
Oh, yeah, I heard that too. That was nice. I am very entertained. Like tonight's matchup on paper. Now, Mariota's supposed to go, by the way. I don't know why we didn't bring that up. He's supposed to play tonight. This is what I'm hearing. So he'll be back.
So quick, if you have Mariota and Brissett, if Mariota plays,
yes,
you're going with him?
Yes.
Okay, correct.
I have Mariota in our League of Record, by the way.
Nice.
Congratulations. I do.
And why did you trade for Wentz?
I brought that up because I signed Mariota at 9 o'clock this morning.
Ah, I see.
I dropped a bye-week defense to get him because he was still available.
Nice.
Here's what's going on tonight. Jason and Mike are taking one another on. Jason has one player left. He is down by 5.9 points, and he has the Tennessee Titans defense, one of the just more exciting defenses that you can have. And he needs 6 points.
So root for me, America.
So Jason's my division mate, so I'm a big Colts fan tonight. But this is what makes fantasy football so fun. A Monday night game that maybe you had a little interest in. I know last night I was talking to somebody, a friend of mine, and he's like, oh, this game's going to be terrible, this Giants game. I'm like,
nope, fantasy football.
I'm like, I'm interested. I got Evan Ingram. I want to see what happens. So you can follow along with us, and either Mike or Jason will be crying at the end of the night. Yeah. So let's talk poopers.
Pooped in his big boy pants.
Still one of the greatest privileges of my life that I have a job in which that is a part of my weekly routine. I get to say, let's talk poopers. And poopers we shall talk. Brian Hoyer.
Benched.
Goodbye.
Joe
Flacco. His drawers have been poopy for weeks upon weeks.
Yeah, get that man a baby wipe.
Yeah. In fairness, I don't think Hoyer or Flacco actually have big boy pants.
He's a Super Bowl winning
quarterback.
But for fantasy football,
yes,
if
right.
you were starting either of those guys, I mean,
you're
more likely to have been starting Hoyer.
Yeah, you weren't starting them. All right, here are some actual big boy pants you were starting. Derek Carr and Matt Ryan.
Hey, Derek Carr, yet again, against division foes, is garbage.
We get, of all the players we got a lot of hate on, our downgrade of Carr a few weeks ago, it received a lot. People love Derek Carr. I love Derek Carr.
Yes.
He's a great dude.
He's a good raccoon.
He's a great dude, solid raccoon.
Great dude, solid raccoon.
But at the end of the day, Mike has said it for months. The division, it's not kind to him.
Because the numbers are there.
And this Derek Carr has not succeeded going downfield. Here's the thing. Amari Cooper has disappeared. He's the downfield threat.
It's the long con.
Yeah.
It's the long con for the Raiders.
Well, you've got Kansas City Buffalo the next 2 weeks. Stay away from Derek Carr. Dump him. Waive him. I'd rather have Mariota. I'd rather have any of these other options. Matt Ryan, however, he gets the salve that is the New England
the get
defense
right game
next week. And then the Jets, and then Carolina. All three on the road, however. What do you do with Matt Ryan right now? You just kind of lock and load him?
You play him. Matt Ryan's a QB1 that you play every week. And
Sure.
the Patriots, that's delightful.
You might even be able to trade for Matt Ryan on
that
the cheap.
would be
Sure.
what to do right there.
Yeah, if you got Aaron Rodgers and he went down and you're
in a keeper
I
league.
want a plug and play quarterback. I don't want to do the stream. That's not part of how you want to play. Go get Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. They lost, by the way. They lost.
Yeah, they did. Just smoking Jay Cuddy. He's back.
He didn't even care. And he
The
still
Dolphins.
won.
Yeah.
The Dolphins they're 3-2. Am I right about that? The Dolphins.
No.
I don't think you're right about that.
I think they are.
They are.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I told you.
No.
That entire division is above 500, 500 or above. The Jets, who have been great, are the basement of the division now because they're 3-3.
Look out for the Dolphins.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I'm not going to look out for the Dolphins.
Well, he
You
wasn't.
can't make me.
And the good news was he wasn't in the stud muffin list, but Jay Ajayi finally had a much better game. Still looks slow, but he was getting the workload. He's getting it done.
What, 26 carries?
The Dolphins are 1-4. I refuse. I looked it up and I realized they are 3-2. But I say no. I will not allow it.
I reject.
They're
3-2 in
1-4.
real life, 1-4 in my heart.
Right.
If you had Jamal Charles or C.J. Anderson on Sunday Night Football, you were not excited about what you
Man.
watched. C.J. Anderson, look, the game script, it turned upside down. Whatever happened to the Giants, suspending Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, losing all your wide receivers, I don't know what catalyzed this game. It reminded me of a game a couple of years ago where the Browns came in against the Giants on Monday Night Football. Giants were 6-0 and got shellacked by the Browns, who were like 1-4 at 5 at the time. It's the NFL. It just happens. Are you worried about C.J. Anderson long term because of this game?
I was worried a little bit early, before the game script changed with how much they were using their other backs. Jamal Charles came in earlier than he had been, was very involved, and then Devontae Booker got a lot of run as well.
He's turned into their pass-catching guy. I mean, 6 targets.
That would be the biggest concern.
Yeah,
Yes.
C.J. Anderson's a guy that needs 20-plus carries. Now, I get it. If you're down in a game and you need the pass-catching back and maybe you feel that's not C.J. Anderson, that's one thing. But early on in that game, I did have a little bit of concern with C.J.'s usage.
All right.
Andre Ellington.
The roll is gone.
The goose is loose.
I mean, that was Andre Ellington, which I played him, and I got 0 points from Andre Ellington. No carries, 1 target. No carries, 1 target. And Adrian Peterson's his appearance into Arizona has seemingly eliminated Ellington.
This is a game script thing.
Yeah, I am actually not that extreme. Look, you had the visceral goose on your team this week. I think Ellington's going to be involved. He was targeted. He also had a reception. He was called back on it.
He had 1 target.
He had one called back on.
He had 2 targets.
But the game script was 100% run. I'm just saying, I think next week it's not impossible for Andre Ellington to have 7 receptions.
Right,
sure,
I agree. We were up.
But what do you do with him? You don't start him.
I mean,
you probably don't.
I think those couple games where he was getting double-digit targets, I think those are going to be gone.
Okay, we got to move on to the headline. To me, I'm done with Mike Gillislee officially.
That's
Mike
fair.
Gillislee played 13 snaps. He lost the fumble. Deion Lewis was already starting ahead of Mike Gillislee in this game. And the defense, what we hope to see, what the game script was and is and should be for Gillislee's success is near impossible right now with the New England defense. They're not up. They're not leading. They do not need to drive down. The clock doesn't get worn down. I mean, it's just one of those things where right now with Gillislee, what do? Keep trade cut Mike Gillislee. You're not going to get value for him in a trade. He's had too many successive poor weeks. You will not start him.
Yeah, I think you package trade him or you keep him. You definitely don't
you
cut
don't cut
him,
Mike
but I
Gillislee.
agree. You're done. You don't start him right now either. If you were to cut him, I would pick him up.
Okay,
I would pick him up
what
too.
arguments are you, just to play devil's advocate, okay, I'm not disagreeing necessarily, but you've made arguments about Isaiah Crowell, the time bomb on the waiver wire. How do you know when to start Gillislee the same way you don't know when to start Crowell? Now, you did say, look, you wouldn't necessarily cut Crowell because if he's out on the waivers, you'd probably sign him. But is he a trap for people? Because this is the fear going back 2 months before the offseason, or before the season began, was, look, Belichick's going to screw you over. He screwed everybody over because he gave you this beautiful gem, this diamond, for these first couple weeks, and then he's been an absolute turd.
Yeah, it's the touchdowns. Deion Lewis is honestly the #1 concern for me. Clearly,
would you drop him? If you had to drop him for Deion Lewis, would you do it? That's the question. Would you drop Gillislee for Deion Lewis?
No.
I would rather have Deion Lewis than Gillislee at this point.
Yeah,
so if it was a world where you just had to pick one of those,
if you had to pick one of those,
I would rather.
Here's
have Lewis.
Here's the thing for Gillislee. He's had double-digit carries in every single game, and the touchdowns clearly have vaporized. Lewis is the #1 concern. #2 was the fumble, right? We've seen Belichick. He's one of those coaches that if you fumble, he's done with you. And Gillislee was benched for the entire first half after that. He did come back in, and so, I mean, you want to make a big deal of it. Well, he played 13 snaps. He carried the ball 10 times. So that he was in, they're going to use him. But I get it. I'm if someone wants to move on from Gillislee, I'm not going to blame you.
Would you rather have P. Ryan or Gillislee rest of the season?
Gillislee.
Gillislee.
Would you rather have let's look here. Joe Mixon or Gillislee?
Mixon.
Okay. All right. Frank Gore or Gillislee?
That's a good one. I think I would go
I think
I would go Frank Gore.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I'm not trying to overreact on it. It's just when a player has been how many weeks in a row now has he disappointed you where you've started him hoping for 4 straight weeks? That's a lot. I mean, you talk about staying in the flames. Whatever these are,
I mean,
you get out of the ice bath.
Yeah. He's ice cold for sure.
More stinkers. Abdullah, very disappointing.
Yeah, super disappointing.
14 for 54.
That was a matchup he was supposed to win.
It's crazy.
0 catches.
It's crazy the amount of points. I mean, what was the total? Like 80-something points in that game?
I think 90.
90. And the amount of poopy pants in that
Mike
game
Thomas.
does not.
Yeah.
It makes
Mike Thomas,
no rational
Kobe
sense.
Fleener.
No, it makes no sense. But here we are.
That was a weird
So Amir Abdullah, Duke Johnson. I think I expected a lot more from both Javorius Allen and Duke Johnson this week. Didn't really see it. Aaron Jones and Montgomery kind of they ate each other up. I mean, they hurt each other, and then the injury didn't help because you didn't have the targets you hoped for. Marshawn Lynch, what is he at this point? Is he a running back 3 at this point?
Yeah.
See, that's the question you could say. Would you rather Marshawn Lynch or Mike Gillis?
I would take Marshawn Lynch.
I would as well.
Yeah. But with both guys, you're really hoping for touchdowns to give you an RB2 week. That's the way it's worried. The yards aren't there for either of them.
They're almost identical.
Yeah.
They're almost identical statistically on the season.
I'd take Lynch because you know he was signed to be their workhorse.
But he's not been.
And you have the variables of – I mean, Burke is not even back, and you still don't know what to do with the running backs inside of New England. Even James White. I mean, James White didn't have a very good week. He's only been in double digits once or twice in PPR leagues. You can pretty much start no running backs in New England and just consider yourself sane.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Michael Thomas, let's bring him up. Wide receiver poopers. Michael Thomas, Chris Hogan.
What? Hey,
That was
the Michael Thomas one. I don't even know what to do with. I mean, I know what to do with it. It's a blip on the radar. Michael Thomas is great.
First
It's
week
just
without 8 targets.
Yeah, with
just-
these two guys specifically, Michael Thomas, Chris Hogan, you go out and you try to trade for them whenever you
Yes.
have this down of a week because I believe rest of season in both these guys as weekly starters.
as do I.
Amari Cooper.
You know, pretty soon he's
we
not
need
going to
to
be
call-
allowed on this list.
No, pretty
Cooped
soon
in his big boy
exactly.
pants.
That's where I was going.
Oh man, like the whole segment's going to
It
change.
hit me, Mike. It hit me right when your face lit up, and I'm going,
It's
He
right
cooped?
there.
he cooped in his big boy pants.
Oh man. Oh, I think I might
there
take
are-
a coop today.
He took a big coop.
Oh,
5 for 28 on 6 targets.
Amari, come on, man, come on.
Some-
That's all I can say for Amari Cooper is come on, man.
And now, in fairness, he did have a 31-yard reception that was a really nice catch downfield, called back with an inconsequential holding that did not affect the play at all. If you add 1 for 31 to his line, and you go, okay, he was 6 for
Right.
whatever.
Then you go.
Normally with good wide receivers, you don't have to.
I know.
You don't
I
have
know,
to construct their stat line in
All right,
theoreticals.
Andy, Dad, you're back. What do you do with Amari Cooper?
Oh, you bench that man until he can figure it out.
But you keep him? I mean, do you look to trade him? Do you look to keep
yeah,
him? Do you look to acquire him?
He's too, at least in the leagues I play in, he's too good of a name to just throw out there on the wire. You bench him the way you bench Sammy Watkins right now, where I don't
Right.
think you're dropping either of them. You're waiting for some change because
The talent is there
the
for
talent
both of those
is
guys.
there hidden beneath the mind problems right now. And it's not just that. I mean, this is a team that has been, they're 2-4?
Yeah, the Raiders were
They're
supposed
2-4,
to
so-
compete for a Super Bowl, and they look like a bad team. They just
Yeah,
look like
Carr couldn't get
bad
going.
offense, bad defense.
But, he cooped in a big way. Speaking of Coopin, Cooper Kupp.
Oh, man.
Cooper Kupp cooped as well.
What's happening?
2 for 35. Bad day for a Cooper. Terrell Pryor, Mike, 3 for 23 against San Francisco on only 5 targets.
Yeah.
You had been high on him last week just with that specific game. What is he rest of season? Would you rather have, Pryor or Sammy Watkins?
I'd rather have Pryor. This is the exact same thing Jason's doing for Amari Cooper. Terrell Pryor was wide open in the end zone on an easy pass, but Cousins sailed the ball, which changes his day drastically.
The problem that I have with Terrell Pryor and Sammy Watkins, I would rather have Amari Cooper than either of those guys. The reason why is because Amari Cooper is still involved. He is still getting the targets, and it's not this complete cluster where there's so many guys. Kirk Cousins was the #1 quarterback this week. He was the number one quarterback,
That
and
is-
Terrell Pryor
yeah.
was not involved because he doesn't need to be involved. You got Vernon Davis, you got Jordan Reed, you got James Crowder, you got Josh Doxson, you got Ryan Grant,
Chris Thompson.
you got Chris Thompson. You don't need who's it going to be? That's kind of what I see. Same problem with Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins is like, okay, is it going to be Cooper Kupp? Is it going to be Tavon Austin? Is it going to be Robert Woods? You just don't know. Whereas with Amari Cooper, it's like, get your head right, get your coop together, and move on, because
Come
he
on,
is
Amari.
still the wide receiver
Come on,
two
Amari.
at least on that team.
All right. Let's talk tight ends real briefly. Look, guys. I was going to say, I'm taking this show past the 1 hour mark.
Mini LaDon.
I'm getting crazy. Two Werther's originals
He
today.
goes on vacation and just
He's wearing boxers today.
That's
with
right.
color on them.
Oh, Kobe Fleener, Eric Ebron, Martellus Bennett, Jordan Reed, Travis Kelce. Is there anything to talk? I mean, you're not starting Kelce. You're not starting Reed, are you?
No.
nope.
So there's not much to talk about there.
Martellus Bennett. People
Stop buying into Martellus
Thank
Bennett.
you.
Stop it.
with the transition now to Hundley though.
No, stop.
Okay. I'm trying to.
He's not
I think
going to
he
get
was
better.
genuine in that too. He was like, "Yeah,
I'm just.
But that's what people are going to do. They're going to
yeah,
go,
I'm
well,
asking
now
the
maybe
questions.
this guy needs to rely on the tight end. No, stop it.
All right, if who are you suiting up tonight? Real quick, are you suiting up Rashard Matthews now that
Yes.
Mariota's back?
Absolutely.
Decker?
Yes. Probably already made your decisions. Probably not Decker.
Good game from DeMarco tonight.
I believe so.
What if it's not?
Ooh, that's
What do you do then?
You.
Is that the official?
Yeah, that would be.
All right, so let's put him on notice tonight. Tomorrow morning, if DeMarco Murray doesn't come through against the Colts tonight, you're looking at Tradesville. You're looking at
Yeah.
Freakoutville.
Yeah, I think if
Probably.
he doesn't get it done tonight at home against the Colts with Mariota there,
Yeah,
you can't, you're gonna need to try to trade him.
and you would think,
But I think he's gonna get it done.
you would think they'd lean on him pretty heavy tonight too, if they don't want to extend Mariota with the hamstring injury. And yeah, so all right, that is it for today's episode. It is good to be back again. Thank you, Brooks, Jay Grizz, Mike, Jason, for a wonderful week of Andy-less podcasts, and I'm excited to be back. Check out draft.com/ballers to play with us.
Goodbye.
Take care.
Go Titans!
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.